Hi, this is Tim Yoder with Fit Small Business. Today I'm going to be doing Chapter 3 of the Fit Small Business case study for Sage Business Cloud. So Chapter 3 deals with accounts receivable. So our first task is to set up a 6% sales tax. So we can set up custom sales taxes under our settings. And then in our financial settings we have a sales tax area. So it looks like it's already set up sales tax for New York based on the information we gave when we set up the company. Our case study is using just a fictional 6% sales tax for New York, so I'm going to go ahead and set that up. So let's just call it State of New York. And a 6% sales tax. Okay. And we'll save that. Okay, and there we go. So there's our state of New York 6%. Again, that's not reality. These are actually probably the real tax rates that the program set up for us, but for our case study, we're just going to use this 6%. Okay, next task is to look at invoices. We want to customize our invoice template with a logo. So let's go back to settings. And our document settings, we have templates and logos. Okay, so it looks like it has a few templates to choose from, not a lot. It's got a couple of product-based templates, a couple of service-based templates. So we're a product-based business, so perhaps we'll use the Pepper invoice. Down here it looks like there's a couple of additional invoices we could choose from that are older. I like the newer invoices, so let's stick with the Pepper product invoice. So not a lot of choices here. But these are all fairly good looking, so I don't think it's much of a problem. A company logo here is where we could add our logo. Looks like you simply drag it here and it'll put it onto your invoices. So that's very easy. Okay, what else do we want to do with our invoices? Let's see. We want to adjust the color scheme of our invoice. So it looks like here we can choose different color schemes. This gives you a little bit of a preview. So we have these 10 different theme colors we can use. However, we can actually use this hex code. So if you do a Google for color hex codes, this basically gives you the opportunity to put exactly whatever color you could ever possibly want. It's basically almost limitless number of colors when you use these hex codes. So that is very good. Looks like here you can select the fonts that you want to use on your document. So very good. This looks like a very nice invoice template. So again, there's not a lot of choice on the actual template, but certainly you have almost an infinite number of colors you can use, and you can add your logo. So that looks pretty good. Now the other thing we can change here is the document preferences. That'll actually change which columns are shown on our document. Okay, so we can change our document headings there, our prefixes and numbers, our contact details and addresses. Okay. Okay, and so here is where we could add additional notes that we would want to add. So we could put something like, thank you for your business. It looks like we can actually use 2,000 characters, and so you could actually have a lot. Okay, excellent. Very good. So I'm pretty happy with these invoice options. So let's go ahead and fill out our scorecard here. We were able to create a sales tax item. We could choose a template for our invoices. We could upload the logo. We could change the invoice colors, and we could create a personalized message. So good invoicing function. Okay, so moving on, we want to create a new customer for Family Bowling. So on January 16th, we issue an invoice to Family Bowling. for the 40 hours of Hank's labor and $200 permit fee. So we need to set up the customer first. Okay, so let's go to Invoices. Oh, I probably should have hit save in order to save that little message at the bottom of the Invoices, but that's okay. Okay, so let's see if we can do a quick add by just trying to do the invoice. So if we go here and let's see, family bowling. Oh, we already got family bowling in as a customer. Okay, I think because we'd already set up the job earlier. So family bowling, we'll just keep that current invoice date is fine. Okay, good. And so we're going to charge them for the 40 hours of Hank's labor. So I think we've already set up a product for contract labor. Good. And we're charging them $80 per hour for 40 hours of it. Okay. And then the other thing was the permit fee. Looks like we have not set up an item for that. Okay. Well, we should try to use an item. Wonder why we didn't set up an item when we paid that. Okay, well, let's cancel here. This won't take long. So let's go up to products and services. Okay, and let's add an item for permits. This is a, let's call it a non-stock item. It's not really a service. And we're going to leave these blank because a permit doesn't have one particular price. Okay. So we're going to have the sales of the permit. So we charge the, let's see here. We're just going to put this to other income. And when we buy this item, we want it to go to kind of this other cost of sales. Okay. So save that. Okay, now we can create the invoice. So we're going to create it to family bowling. Okay, contract labor, 40 hours. Okay. Okay. And then permits. And here it's just going to be a $200 permit. Okay, so we're going to charge them $3,400. Okay, and we can, let's do a save and print. Okay, and that looks like it's pretty easy to save. Okay, so we can print it from here. So good. So that looks pretty good. Okay, so let's go over to the scorecard. Create a new customer. Yes, we're able to do that. Unbilled labor and expenses, and print the invoice. And now, here I'm going to give it a 0 here because so we've already paid these expenses in the prior chapter, and so it would have been very nice if we could just take those expenses that have already been paid and add them to this invoice, but we weren't able to do that, right? We had to recreate the entry. So Sage Business Cloud doesn't allow you to track unbilled expenses and then bill them to customers later. So our next task is to create an invoice for some inventory. So let's see how that goes. So we're going to want a new invoice, and it says make it to Big Time Diner. So we're going to have to create a new customer here. So let's fill this out first. Big Time Diner, then add a customer, and that should be fine. Actually, let's do sales of materials. Okay, and then save. Okay, and so we want to sell Big Time Diner 20 plumbing widgets for $25 each. Good, it carried the $25 price from our item detail, and so that's $500. Looks very good. Okay, and let's make sure we collect our sales tax. Let's do our 6% here. Okay, let's see. Okay, so to add this, we need to choose the sales. We need to choose the tax rate item by item up here. So State of New York, 6%. There we go, and that gives us our $30 of sales tax. Okay, excellent. So we can save that. Okay, good. So that's the $530. Now, we want to see if the program automatically assigned a cost of goods sold for those plumbing widgets that we sold. So let's go to reporting, and let's go to our profit and loss. Okay, for the month, cost of sales. Does not look like it did. So this is a major problem. So we can see that the $500 in revenue that we just recorded with that invoice is shown here in our sales of materials. So that part is fine. Okay, but the cost of those goods sold did not automatically get taken out of inventory and put into our cost of goods sold account. So let's investigate that a little bit further. So let's look at our trial balance. And let's look at our inventory account, right? So this is where whenever we buy plumbing widgets, that cost of the inventory goes to this inventory account. Okay, and so here we can see all of our purchases, and then that one credit we had for $11, this is all in our inventory account. Now when we sell inventory, the system should automatically calculate the cost of those units we sold, and then credit inventory for that amount and debit cost of goods sold for that amount, and it didn't do that. That is a serious problem. So I would not recommend this program if you have really any significant inventory at all. So it's nice if we look at products and services, it looks like it's doing a great job with your inventory. If we look at our inventory item here, it's pulling it up. Yeah, so it gives us our quantity in stock and our sales price and our purchase price. It even gives us this average cost. But then when we sold the product, it didn't use that average cost. Right here it shows the 20 units going out, but it never used that average cost in order to make the entry to credit inventory and debit cost of goods sold. That is a serious shortcoming on this program. I don't understand why they would do all of this work and then not have that entry automatically made. So let's go to our scorecard here. Okay, add inventory to an invoice, that was fine. Charge sales tax, that was fine. Determine if the program automatically recorded cost of goods sold. It did not do that. So since it didn't do that, it's using neither average cost or LIFO. Okay, moving on. So let's create an invoice for a recurring charge. So we're going to have a service contract with another client called Trampoline City. So a couple things we need to do. First, let's make a new product, actually a new service for this service contract. So a new item. This is a service. We'll call it SC for service contract. Okay. I sell this item for, let's see, $100 per month. Okay. And let's have it go to the other income account. We do not have to charge sales tax. We'll say we don't have to charge sales tax on this service contract. And we don't buy the item from anybody. Okay, so let's save this. That's our item. Now let's go create an invoice. So let's go new invoice. Trampoline City. So we're going to have to make a new client. Okay. And so choose our service contract. $100. Very good. Now we're going to we need to make this a recurring invoice. So let's see how we can do that. Okay, so I did a little research. I'd gotten off to a bad start here. So for our recurring invoices, once we go to sales and invoices, then we need to switch over here to this tab, recurring invoices. Now let's set up a new recurring invoice. Okay, so we've already set up the customer. It's Trampoline City. Okay, so let's send it out monthly on the first day of every month, starting now, ending never. Okay. So we have a choice. We can create draft invoices automatically, and then we'd have to approve them, or we can just create the final invoice automatically. Let's just do that. And here it looks like we could actually, the email would actually be automatic. But let's go ahead and just create the invoice, and we have to kind of do the email manually so we can look at it first. So let's just select our service contract. Why is it not doing anything? There we go. Okay. Service contract $100. Okay. And we're making this recurring. Okay. And so let's hit save. Okay. And there we go. We're able to create a recurring invoice. Nice. Okay. So let's fill out our scorecard for recurring invoices. We were able to set up that service item and a monthly invoice. Okay, now let's go into receiving some checks from customers. So let's receive a check from Family Bowling for the full amount of the invoice. So record the check, but let's not deposit it in the bank yet. So we want to see if we can group all the checks we collect in a day. Let's group those together into one bank deposit if we can. Okay, so first let's receive the check for the full amount from Family Bowling. So first let's go to our invoices here. That should show the invoice. Let's go to Family Bowling. Click on that invoice and we're going to receive the full amount. Okay, so record payment. $3,400, no discount, payment date paid into, okay, here's where we can, okay. So it does not give us a choice to put it into some sort of unrecorded deposits or undeposited funds account, so that we can group our deposits all into one. So we could set up a separate account and do it manually, but that's very difficult. So it doesn't give us that option automatically. That's unfortunate. But we'll put it straight into the checking account. Okay, record $3,400. Okay, good. So that was pretty easy to do. Now we have an unknown customer comes into the offices and purchases a plumbing widget for $25 cash. Record the cash received, but don't deposit it yet. Well, we have to deposit it immediately, because we're not able to group our cash together. Group different deposits into one deposit. Okay, so under sales, so I'd like to just do a sales receipt instead of an invoice, since the sale is happening immediately, since the delivery of the product is immediately. So let's see what this quick entries is. Let's do a quick entry. And I don't think this is going to help us much. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and create, I guess we're just going to have to do an invoice. We're going to create a new customer, and we're just going to call him walk-in customer, that we can use for all of the walk-in customers. Now, obviously, if you have a lot of walk-in customers, you're going to want some sort of point-of-sale system. But we're going to say, we're a plumbing company. We very rarely have a walk-in customer. But when we do, we can assign it just to this customer that we made up called walk-in customer. Okay, and you know what? We don't want to do it this way, because we want to make this a plumbing widget. And the problem here is that we can't select an item. We have to do it directly to an account. So that's no good. So let's cancel out of this quick entry. We're going to have to do it the other way. We're going to do a sales, and then a sales invoice, a new invoice, okay, and let's do it for walk-in customer. Now we can choose the plumbing widget. Okay, one for $25. We need to charge tax on it. Okay, there we go. So now let's save this. We don't need to email it because it's happening immediately, right? But we can go ahead and save it. Now we have to make a separate entry to record the payment. Now we can record a payment of $26.50. We're going to pay it into our checking account, and they paid us with cash, and so we can record it. So it would be nice to be able to record a sales receipt, which is just a single transaction instead of doing this in two separate transactions. So not a huge deal, but a little inconvenient. Okay, let's go to our scorecard. Receive a check on an outstanding deposit, on an outstanding invoice. We were able to do that. That's easy enough. But we can't not deposit the check. We have to show the check being deposited into the checking account immediately. Issue a sales receipt for a sale paid immediately. No, we had to do it in two steps. We had to do the invoice, then collect payment on the invoice. Okay, now next task is receive a check from Big Time Diner for $200 towards the invoice. So they're short paying the invoice. Let's make sure we can do that, and I think we can. So let's go to sales invoices. Now, Big Time Diner pays us $200. So let's open Big Time Diner's invoice. Okay, let's record payment. Now, instead of $530, they only paid us $200. Okay, And we're gonna have to put it all directly to the checking account because they don't have an undeposited funds. And it was a check. Okay, record $200. Okay, and that shows us that they still owe us $330. Very good. So later that day, they're going to come in and they're going to pay us the other $330. Okay, so now let's go in. They've paid us the other 330. So again, the point was we wanted to make sure that we could record a short payment of an invoice, and we can. So now let's receive the other $330. Okay, and there we go. Now the next step says we want to combine all of these checks that we've received. So two from Big Time Diner, one from Family Bowling, and one from the walk-in customer. We want to combine all of these checks and cash together into one deposit. And the reason we want to do that is when we reconcile our account, our bank statement is going to show it as just one deposited amount, right? It's not going to have the breakdown of the deposit. So it's going to make it very hard to reconcile our books to our bank statement if we show all of these separate deposits. Well, unfortunately, Sage Business Cloud does not have any function for combining your checks into one big deposit. So we can't do that. So let's fill out our scorecard here. Accept a short payment from a customer? Yes. Combine multiple checks into a single deposit? No. Add cash to that deposit? No. View outstanding invoices. Okay, so now moving on, we want to make sure we can view our outstanding invoices easily, and I think we can. This kind of invoice center here, I think, is very clear. Yeah, so here we can show all of our outstanding invoices. It looks like everything's actually been paid. Trampoline City's invoice has not actually been issued yet because of the way we set it up. Okay, so back to our scorecard. Yeah, we can very easily view outstanding invoices. And we don't have to generate a report to do it. Okay, now let's get into issuing sales credit memos. Let's see if we can do this. So, Big Time Diner returns 2 plumbing widgets. So we need to accept those plumbing widgets back into inventory, issue them a credit memo, including an adjustment for sales tax, and then we want to view the credit balance in their accounts receivable account, and then we want to issue a check for that credit balance. So there's a lot to do here. Okay, so if we go to sales, and I think they have a sales credit. Okay, so let's see what our options are here. Let's create a new credit note. And this is to Big Time Diner. Okay, and they're returning 2 plumbing widgets. So we're giving them their $25 per widget back, and we need to make sure we do the sales tax adjustment. Okay, so we're issuing them a credit for $53. So let's save that. Okay, so let's make sure that that got reflected in inventory. So let's go to products and services. And let's look at the detail for plumbing widgets. Okay. Good. And so here it shows as a goods out, but it shows a negative number. So it shows that it had been returned to us, and so it is reflected in this information. Very good. So it did record it there. Now let's see if it recorded it. Let's see. No, it's not going to record it in our inventory because it didn't record the cost of goods sold when we sold it. Well, let's go ahead and take a look. So trial balance. I suspect there's no entry into our inventory account. No, I think that 1649 is the same that it was. Yeah, so again, no entry into our inventory account. So ideally, the system should have made an entry. We've received inventory back. It should have debited inventory, credited cost of goods sold. But as we've previously seen, when we sold the item, it didn't make the proper entry, which would have been credit inventory, debit cost of goods sold. So it's not making the cost of goods sold entries automatically, which is, again, that's a big shortcoming. You really can't use this software with inventory. It's very surprising they went through the trouble of making this nice inventory item that tracks inventory, but then the information from that item isn't used to automatically make the proper journal entries. Okay, so we were able to issue a credit memo to the customer. We were able to include the sales tax adjustment. Well, what should I say here? So record inventory returned back into inventory. So it showed up in the sales in the inventory item, but it didn't show up in the financial statement. So I'm going to give them a half a point for that. Okay. Now the other thing it wanted us to do, so view the credit balance in the AR account, and then let's see if we can issue a check for them. Okay, so let's go back to our invoices. Doesn't show up here. Sales credit notes. So it does show up here, but we'd have to remember to look under credit notes. What about, does it show up in our accounts receivable? Let's see. Accrual. Okay, so accounts receivable. Yeah, it is. So our only accounts receivable is a credit balance of $53. So that's pretty good. Okay. Okay, so good. Now we want to refund the credit balance by issuing them a check. So I think maybe let's go to the sales credit notes again, and let's open the credit note and see if there's a way for us to pay it. Because the two ways we can do it, right, is eventually they might buy something again and we can apply this $53 to their new invoice, or perhaps we can issue them a refund. Here we're going to try to issue them a refund with a check. Here we go, record refund. Amount refunded $53, paid from checking. Now notice the one thing that's missing is actually printing the check. So we can record the check, but we're going to have to actually write the check by hand. So let's refund the $53, and then we're going to have to write the check. Oh, no, here we go. So we can write out a check manually and record the number, or you can print the check right now. Okay, very good. So you can print the check. Excellent. I'm just going to put this right now so we can move on in the case study, but you certainly can print the check, and that's what we wanted to know. Very good. Issue a check to refund the credit balance. We were able to do that. Okay. Very good. Now, let's see if we can view our transactions summarized by customer. So if we go to sales, I mean, not really, right? We can do these sales invoices, and it's just going to give us a list of invoice. I suppose we could sort by customer, maybe. Yeah, we can sort by customer, and then we could see each invoice. But I want a more detailed view of transactions by customer. So let's go to reporting, more. Yeah, I don't see anything where we can view transactions by customer. Let's try this. Let's go to contacts and customers. See if we can get a summary this way. Okay, so let's go to, say, family bowling. If we click on that, is that going to give us an estimate? Yeah, here we go. And that gives us all the activity by customer. Very good. So we go to contacts, customers. That will give us all the activity. Okay, so go back to our scorecard. So view transactions summarized by customer. Okay, now let's deal with the sales tax. See, so we want to write a check to the state of New York for your sales tax liability and then file our sales tax return if we can. So let's see what kind of sales tax tool Sage has. Okay, so if we go to our reporting and then go to the more to show all of the reports available, we look down here under tax reports. We have a sales tax report, and this shows us how much we owe to New York. So that's the so we had $500 of sales minus the $25 credit when they returned the inventory, and so we owe sales tax of $28.50. Let's see if we click into it. Does it give us any detail? Be nice to be able to see the detail so we can verify that it's correct. Oh, here we go. How about the detailed tab? Yeah, here we go. Now we have all of our items. Okay, so now we can see how much we owe, write a check, and then we can record the tax payment. So let's say, yeah, okay, so we owe $28.50. We're going to pay it with a check. Vendor, we'd have to set up a new vendor here. And then we can actually print the check right here. So very good. It doesn't help us file our sales tax return, but it does give us all the information we need, and then we can actually print a check to make the payment. So that's very good. So view sales tax liability detail. Yes, we're able to do that. Pay the sales tax with a check. Yes, pay the sales tax liability electronically. Now this is asking if we can actually initiate the payment from within the accounting program, and we can't do that. And can we file the sales tax return? Nope, have to do that outside. And so subjective ease of use. It was fairly easy. I'm going to give it the same 0.7 that we gave the accounts payable. So actually really good, except for the fact that it doesn't automatically record the cost of goods sold when you sell inventory. And that is a huge problem. I mean, that's the whole point of inventory accounting, is so that your bookkeeping software can automatically calculate the cost of goods sold and make that entry when you sell something. So that is a really big oversight. So again, wouldn't recommend this program if you have inventory. So that's it for Chapter 3 of the Fit Small Business Case Study.